Waynesville First United Methodist Church is located near downtown Waynesville, North Carolina. Its steeple is visible all over the area. In the late afternoon, the shadow of that steeple shades the Massie Memorial Garden. This pollinator garden was established around 1990 as a memorial to a unique lady, Harriet Massie, the flower lady. Harriet Massie loved flowers and had a beautiful garden of her own. She often used flowers from her garden in arrangements for the church, chancel, and Sunday school rooms. After her death in 1989, her family decided to fund a garden at First United Methodist in her memory. They directed any memorial gifts to be used for the plants, trees, and shrubs that would be purchased.
I'm Mary Ann Way, and I'm the daughter of Harriet Massie. I'm here to talk about the Memorial Garden at First United Methodist Church in her honor and her memory. She loved to garden, and she had a beautiful flower garden in her backyard, and she just loved to give flowers to other people. She fixed flowers many, many times for the sanctuary at our church. She did flowers for Lake Junaluska. And if anybody in town had a party, she just loved to fix flowers for them. And I will have to say that I don't think I ever entertained that I had to fix flowers. Mother always fixed them for me. We thought that would be a very fitting thing to honor her memory by having a garden, since she loved flowers and loved to garden. And we met with the trustees to get an approval to do this, or if they thought it was fitting to do. They chose the site at the church, and then we gave the seed money, the family, and then the memorials that came in her memory were directed to go to the garden. Yes, they did a lot of work on it, and we added a few things along, but Dan was just great to take care of it, and his whole committee. She did. She lived in the next block, and she spent many hours, I think, working in the garden. Well, I think that just having the beauty right at the front of our church, and for people in the community and people going in and out of the post office can enjoy it. And it's a very fitting thing, I think, for me to know that this memory of her has been carried on with the beautiful flowers. I think that's great, and I think that she would be very pleased to have the native plants and know that we're trying to take care of the environment also.
The original plants in the garden included lavender, Stokes aster, dahlias, daisies, an oak leaf hydrangea, and a rhododendron. Nandina shrubs were planted in front of the uplights for the wall. In 2015, an intern from the North Carolina Arboretum drew up a 3-part plan for the garden, incorporating native plants. The first part of the plan was implemented that spring. Redbud and witch hazel trees were added, as well as liatris, goldenrod, and butterfly weed. A trumpet vine was planted to grow over the wall. Church members Linda Arnold and Linda McFarlane guided this next step.
Hello, my name is Linda Arnold. I have been involved with the Harriet Massie Garden as one of those people who planted and pulled weeds with Linda McFarlane. When I was thinking this through, I remembered that my parents were tenant farmers. And I remember when I was in probably about the 3rd grade, we moved into this new tenant house where my dad was going to do the farming. If you remember, does anyone remember a swept yard? We had a swept yard. There was no grass in the yard. People parked wherever they wanted to, but one of the Saturday chores was to take a brush broom and sweep the yard so it looked nice on the weekend. At this house that I lived in till I graduated from high school, my parents always had flowers. They planted the grass, created a curved driveway, and we had flower beds, always had daylilies and iris, which were my grandmother's favorite plants as well. In fact, I remember that my grandmother was gardening the week that she died. That was where she wanted to be. Sometime in the early 2000s, I knew Linda McFarlane through my Sunday school class, and I knew that she worked the garden, so I just asked her if she'd like some help, and she took me up on it. It was becoming evident that some of the plantings needed to be replaced. They were dying out. The sun was getting to some of them, and so we thought it would be a good idea to get some professional help. So we got Mary Ann involved in the decision to hire an intern. She made a plan that was to take place over 3 years. We never got to do the entire 3 years, but we did plant the witch hazel, and then did put in some new plantings all around in the garden. Some of those plantings had to be removed when the new building was put in, and a corner of the garden had to be taken out. Most of those plantings did come back, but it was some of them we lost, including a beautiful rhododendron that it did not make it in the time it spent out of the garden in some pot. And then when it was brought back, it did not make it. Satisfaction in seeing people who are coming by, either driving or on the sidewalk over at the post office, and admiring and appreciating the garden. So many people would tell us, "Oh, I just love to see the garden." So that was really great. I was grateful that they appreciated it. Yes, they do. And I think that's a great idea. I know that we had some plants in the beginning that were not native, and we struggled to keep them alive and pruned back. Some of them would just take over, as you know, some perennials can do. So I really appreciate the effort to go totally native plants.
In the spring of 2023, Waynesville First United Methodist became a pit stop on the Butterfly Highway. The Butterfly Highway is a statewide conservation restoration initiative that aims to restore native pollinator habitats to areas impacted by urbanization, land use change, and agriculture across North Carolina. This network has grown to over 30,000 acres. The sign that is displayed in front of the Massie Garden confirms our pledge to provide and maintain insecticide-free habitat for pollinators that meets the basic needs of wildlife, including native plants, food, water, shelter, and places to bear young and nurture offspring. Today, the garden is maintained by Andy Bartleson. He has continued to add plants that were listed in the 3-part plan. Moving the new buildings of the Child Development Center into the area required plants to be removed on the lower side, but most of those have been re-established. The trumpet vine on the wall was removed as well. The Massie Memorial Garden is a gift to our human and insect neighbors. It delights the eye and nourishes the pollinators. Make a visit soon and consider helping with its upkeep and the expansion of other garden areas on our church grounds.